Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Catskills. Our minister is the Reverend Bob Janis-Dillon. I am Tom Hackett, the worship associate this morning. We are excited to have attendees both in person in the sanctuary as well as virtually on Zoom. A big welcome to everyone. Okay. As I said, this is that's what we want. Okay. So I said this is a little earlier, this is a bit of an experiment using this screen here. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religious faith that carries no creed and welcomes all seekers. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. We are guided by a set of principles and written sources that encompass the many ways we come to know and understand the world, the universe, and the divine. Our principles are important to us at UU Catskills, and we live our values on a daily basis. We affirm that Black Lives Matter. We are a welcoming congregation for the LGBTQ community. We are a congregational affiliate of the Ulster Immigrant Defense Network, and we are an active voice in the effort to address climate change. Community circles connect members with others that live in their local community. There are 9 circles in different areas who meet monthly in person or online through Zoom. If you would like to get in touch with a circle in your area, please contact our office administrator. And speaking of contacts, if you would like to contact someone at UU Catskills, the list is shown on the screen. You can visit our website, uucatskills.org, to find contact information, also to be added to the mailing list, and to find the latest newsletter. If you are a visitor online and would like to be added to our mailing list, you can put your name and email address in the chat box area on Zoom. We encourage you to read our May newsletter that members and others on our distribution list received by email. It is also found on our website. There you will find newsworthy items of the happenings in our UU community and also upcoming events for the month. Weekly updates are also sent by email, and there you will find events for the coming week. There are announcements this morning. We will have our first annual UU Catskills budget meeting today after the service. There is also an option to attend the budget meeting on May 29th. So please choose whichever date works best, which could be both. The meeting will begin in the sanctuary 1/2 hour after the service ends. For those attending in the sanctuary, please join us for coffee hour before the meeting starts. For those attending via Zoom, please remain dialed into the service on mute until the meeting begins. Food collection for Blue Community Fridge is ongoing. Bring non-perishable foods to the sanctuary for delivery to Blue Community Fridge, or deliver them to 122 Clinton Avenue in Kingston. collection of toiletries, personal care items, and laundry supplies to support those served by the Ulster Immigrant Defense Network is continuing. Collection boxes can be found in the sanctuary area. Thanks to everyone who is assisting with today's service. Our hybrid services are made possible by our technical team. Bruce Wilda, who is there in the back of the sanctuary, provides for our live streaming from the pulpit. Our Zoom host this week is Bill Lindsay, and our Zoom monitor is Pat Hurst. For our prelude this morning, Catherine Catabiani will perform Dancing Barefoot in the Rain from African Sketches by Kiru Okoye.
Good morning. It's good to be together. We are a gathering in this room and across Ulster County and beyond, a gathering of love and kindness. We gather other things as well. I'm sure there's anxiety in the room, anger and rage, exhaustion. Anyone feeling exhaustion? And sorrow. There's so many things, and we welcome all of these things. They're a part of our gathering, and we welcome them. But let us remember we are a gathering of love and kindness in abundance, and we feel that today. It's so good to be together. Good to be with you, friends. As we do each Sunday, we'll begin the service by lighting our chalice. And we'll light the chalice with the words on your order of service or on your screens at our home. We'll light this chalice together. We light this flame in grateful, loving community. Even in the darkest of times, may its flame light paths to courage, justice, and hope. And I invite us to read together our unison affirmation. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love to all living beings. May we know once again that we are not isolated but connected in wonder and joy to mystery and miracle in the universe, in this community, and in each other. Our call to worship was written just in the last week or two by the Reverend Terence Strauss, and it was too good not to include. So I heard call to worship by Reverend Terence Strauss. Do you know what motherhood is? Beyond gender, beyond bringing life, beyond feeding and cherishing the tender, fragile form of life's beginning, beyond dusting off a scrape and applying a balm, beyond calling the school and advocating for the safest, most liberating learning, beyond staying up and keeping vigil, beyond driving the car in traffic to rush someone to their most beloved most fleeting interest. Beyond demanding an end to all wars, violence, and shooting that always kill the precious children of mothers. Beyond scraping together reserves of courage to send off her precious hearts into places where either learning or growth or bullies or bullets could all happen. Motherhood is the holiest prayer. Motherhood is foot washing. It is hours of devotionals, years of polishing sacred and non-sacred objects. It is the same vow made in the convent. A purpose beyond the self, holy undertaking with all thy might. So give all the flowers in the world. Arrange the breakfast tray just so. Write love letters. Praise your mother's name. Curse or forgive the mother who could not make the vow stick. Not every monk fulfills the call either. Bless the pregnant person who released their baby into the dreamscape, who chose life in service to a different purpose. Perhaps that person had a mother who fought for them to be safe and control their own body, like any mother would. Mothering is limitless. We can all mother each other. Praying to the great God Mama, we can hardly find the words nor acts of devotion to compare someone who lived entirely for us beyond the self. What you can do is mother someone else while loving yourself well. Continue the vow to someone beyond the self, the daily acts of devotion. Nurture something growing. Heal someone who is not well. Liberate someone who needs to get free. Speak out for those who have no voice. Make peace somehow, somewhere. It's what your mother would have wanted. Words by Terence Strauss. Let us sing together a hymn of welcoming. It's number 188 in the book, or the words be on your screen. It's Come, Come, Whoever You Are. And we're going to try this as a round.
Yes.
With,
I'll play it once through, and then we're going to divide into two groups. Group one, I'm on your team, and Reverend Bob is team 2. We'll sing it in unison first, and then we go into it. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Team 1. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again of despair. Come, yet whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again of despair. Come, yet whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again of despair. Come, yet again come.
beautifully sung, and those in Zoom were joining us in 4-part harmony, so you didn't hear that in the sanctuary, but that was part of our. We have a heart story now, which we introduce with our Wonder Box, because we are people of wonder. I'll put down a couple of notes and managed to lose. Okay, because we are a people of wonder, so we wonder about the world, and we also wonder what's in our Wonder Box this morning. Would anyone like to go on, Jay? Oh. Okay. Mel, do you have any guesses as to what's that card? It's a birthday card. It starts off happy. Now, what could that card be? Nobody finished the card. Oh gosh. Well, what might it say, do we think? Happy. It could be a birthday card, but there's cards. I know people have been working, in their school. Have you worked on anything this? It might be a Happy Mother's Day card. It's invisible writing, or maybe it's still to be finished. If you need a card, you can start with that one. But this is a story about a Mother's Day, and it's a story about Zechariah, who everyone was making things for Mother's Day in Zechariah's class, and he found it a bit difficult actually, because people were making different things. Jason was commissioning a ballet on the wonders and grace of motherhood, and it was pretty good, pretty decent actually. So he was doing that in his class, and he was busy working on that. And now Jamila was actually she had two fathers. But because they were doing these things, they said, well, she'll make something for Mother's Day because she wanted to stay busy. So she was making a helicopter out of some wood and some planks, and it worked okay. It flew, but it got terrible gas mileage. So Jamila decided for Father's Day, which was a bigger deal in her home, she'd really improve when she made the submarine. But so everybody was making these things for Mother's Day, and all this class was making these amazing things. But Zechariah's mom, he wanted to make something, a card or a note or something, but actually his mother was away for Mother's Day, and she wasn't there, and she was away for a while, and so he didn't know what to make his mother because his mother wasn't there, and he wondered what to do. How do you give a Mother's Day gift to a mom who's not there? And Zechariah decided that what he was going to do was he was going to be kind, because he remembered his mom would always say, be kind. She was so keen on kindness. In fact, Zechariah sometimes found it a bit annoying because she always saying, be kind, be kind. And sometimes, once when he was out, they were walking, she stopped and she looked across the street. She said, come with me. And they headed across the street in a hurry. And he wasn't sure there was a toy store across the street. So he said, are they going to the toy store? And but no, there was someone who was having trouble getting into her car, someone who was a little bit older. And Zechariah's mom was just asking if she could help. So Zechariah remembered that. He said, well, maybe I'll have a kindness day. So on the day when everybody was making their Mother's Day cards and gifts, he decided to try and think of ways to be kind. And it wasn't always easy, but he did find ways. When you try to find ways, sometimes you find them. For instance, in his class, they asked what the teacher asked what the capital of Wisconsin is, which is right. I knew that. Madison. Right. We all knew that, obviously. Right. So it was Madison, and Zechariah knew that. And he raised his hand, and he raised his hand really high, and he was really good at raising his hand. And the teacher was called on him, but then he saw out of the corner of his eye, Glenda had raised her hand, and Glenda hardly ever raised her hand because she was a little bit shy. Are some of you a little bit shy? But she raised her hand, and she knew the answer. And Zechariah thought, maybe it'd be kind to let her answer. So when the teacher asked her, yes, Zechariah, he said, I forgot, because he didn't know what else to say. And so the teacher said, that's okay. And Glenda answered it, and she got it right. So he thought, oh, wow, I've been able to be kind. But then he thought, ooh, was I not honest? Did I do that wrong? And he wasn't sure. Sometimes it's tricky being kind. And then it became recess time, and everybody was running. I don't know what you do at recess, but they were running out to play games. It was a beautiful day. And he saw his teacher cleaning all the books. She would tidy up the books because they had reading time just before recess. And Zechariah asked if he could help. And his teacher was very moved and touched by that. And he helped the teacher put all the books away. And actually, he didn't really know where all the books went, so he worried that he made it more complicated. But his teacher said, thank you so much. Nobody has asked me that all year. It's so kind of you to ask. And he even missed a little bit of recess because he was helping her out. So his teacher was really moved by that. And then on the way home, he found another way to be kind because there was an ant trying to cross the sidewalk. He saw it. You ever see a little ant? And he didn't step on it, but he knew it was a busy sidewalk. So he kind of huddled around the ant and just watched it as it went across the sidewalk. And some of the other kids came by and they just said, well, that's weird. And they just went around him. But they didn't step on the ant. And the ant made it all the way to the other side. And it made Zachariah think of how many ants there are. But he felt it was a nice thing to do, a nice thing for one ant, right? So that was his day. And he still felt a bit sad that he hadn't been able to do anything, a gift for his mother. He was just doing kind of what his mother did anyway, because she was kind. But then a long time later, his mother did come back home. And they had a hug and a talk. And he told her about this. And she said, Zachariah, that's wonderful. And he said, what a wonderful gift. And he said, well, that isn't a gift. I didn't even give you anything. I wasn't even kind to you. I was kind to all these other people. And his mother, you know what she said? She said, well, it's the best gift of all because I have tried to teach you kindness and to be kind to you and to know that you're sharing that kindness in the world makes me know that the world is a very beautiful, beautiful place. So that was Zachariah gave his mother a wonderful gift. So all of you, I hope you have a wonderful Mother's Day, and we give thanks for all our parents and all the people who take care of us and all of the people in our lives and all of the children as well. Very great. The children, by the way, will be carrying on their in the farmhouse. They'll be doing it's talking about extinction in animals, but talking about also hope because the eagle has come back to New York State, so it's a hopeful thing. But in 3 weeks at the next service that's here, they'll be doing a procession of the animals during the time for all ages. So just thought I'd do the coming of attractions. It's going to be really a good. They're going to lead it. It's going to be great. So we have one of my favorite, you may know this poem or you may not. If not, it's a marvelous, marvelous poem, Kindness by Naomi Shihab Nye. And Tom is going to read it for us. Thank you, Tom.
Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride thinking the bus will never stop, the passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to gaze at bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere like a shadow or a friend.
Now we have the opportunity to share meaningful events in our lives, our joys and our sorrows. Sharing. We'll have some words of prayer now. And after the prayer, we'll sing a meditative song. And this is one from years ago. I thought it might have been needed to sing this time as a challenging time. It's called "We Shall Overcome," as you know this one. And it's not a hymn of domination, it's a hymn of hope in difficult times. So I thought we would, after the prayer, we'll sing that once through, and then Catherine will play it once through, and then we'll have a time of silent reflection as we attend to our own personal prayer and reflection. And this, so let us gather together, friends, in the spirit of contemplation, meditation, and prayer. The beginnings of Mother's Day began 150 years ago in 1870 with a proclamation by Julia Ward Howe after the Civil War. Julia Ward Howe was sick of war, sick of the way men, generation after generation, sought to divide and control the world. So she called upon the women of the world to rise up and bring peace to our women and to our children and to our men and to our world. She wrote, "Arise, all women who have hearts, whether your baptism be that of water or of tears, and say firmly, we will not have the great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands will not come to us reeking with carnage for caresses and applause." As sorrow ran rife in the land after the Civil War, as families mourned their dead, Julia Ward Howe furiously, brokenheartedly, committedly declared, "There is a better way." We now have one agency which would declare the fate of millions of women and families. And still 150 years later, we have small rooms of powerful men deciding the fate of women. And we are angry about it, and sad and resolute. Abortion is a difficult issue. As human beings, we are faced with painful and complicated questions in life, with much sorrow and difficult decisions. We should have the freedom and autonomy to face these questions, but this discussion no doubt brings up much emotional pain. We pray for all women who have had abortions, that they may know they are worthy, decent, beautiful, and wise, that their sorrow may be meted with compassion, that bitter and difficult feelings may be meted with grace and time. We pray for all women who are the inheritors of Julia Ward Howe's proclamation, that they may be sowers of peace and freedom, that the halls of justice may resound with the voice and wisdom of women. And we pray for men and those of other genders too, that we too may learn the ways of peace, seek to liberate rather than control, seek understanding rather than division. As it is Mother's Day in the secular calendar, let us give thanks for the women and people of every gender who pick us up when we have skinned our knee on the playground, who give us a good word when we are not sure what's next, who make homes a home and make society a better place, who held us in our arms when we were so small we did not have the words to speak. We give thanks for caregivers and mothers, great strength, and we pray for that strength for ourselves. That strength that carries on sometimes through years, through lifetimes. We pray for patience and forgiveness, for joy and laughter. We give thanks. We give thanks for wisdom and determination. We give thanks for mothers, grandmothers, aunts, uncles, caregivers, whether they are here with us so we can say thank you in person on this day, or they are far from here, or passed on to glory. We say thanks in our hearts. As far as we are able, we try to forgive our mothers and caregivers for any ways they may have been imperfect, knowing that each of us is only human, doing the best we can in our limited time on this earth. We hold in our hearts those women who choose not to be mothers, as well as those who wish they were, and offer compassion on the many choices and unchosen situations that make up a lifetime. May we look upon our lives and other lives with kind eyes. May we look upon our world with the fire of commitment, with the passion and creativity of creation and creativity until justice comes of age. Julia Ward Howe asks that women everywhere throughout the world solemnly take counsel with each other as to the means whereby the great human family can live in peace. Peace may seem a very long way off, but let us believe that this way is possible, the way of justice, the way of more and more kindness, the way of peace. We may be in troubled times, but there is, we know in our hearts, a better way. Amen. And now we'll sing together just one verse of We Shall Overcome. Catherine will play it for us once. We believe in the promise and the calling of justice and peace. Spirit of life, make our hearts true to this promise and this calling. Our offering each Sunday goes to the life of this congregation, as well as going out into the community to be a place of peace building and justice building. This month of May, the half-plate donations will go to Rise Up Kingston, a grassroots organization led by those experiencing racism, classism, and gender oppression on a daily basis. We organize to win with our collective power a Kingston economy that meets all of our social and economic needs. So we are honored to share our offering this Sunday with the Rise Up Kingston. You can donate online at uucatskills.org/donate or send a check to the congregation, or you can give online via the QR code on the app. Thank you for all that you do to support this community of peace and justice. Oh, and our offertory today will be Come to My Party and My Scarf is Yellow, both by the composer Hale Smith. We give thanks to all the kindnesses that allow this community of spirit to be. The poet Naomi Shihab Nye, in the reading we heard, writes, only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, it is I you have been looking for, and then goes with you everywhere like a shadow or a friend. With this sermon, I'd like to recommend kindness to you. I know this may sound a bit ridiculous. For one thing, it's obvious, isn't it? We've all heard somewhere along the way that kindness is a good thing, much to be praised. We've heard it 1,000 times. Been told to be nice from growing up in school. How many religious services might be boiled down to the dictum, be nice or be kind? Though actually, I think kindness is not quite the same thing as niceness, but we'll get to that later. Kindness is obvious, and you might argue it ain't even right. It feels like the wrong time to be kind. Politically, our democracy is under threat. Women's rights, the right of bodily autonomy, and our own personal freedom is under threat. Ecologically, the planet is under threat. Be kind. Surely it's an inauspicious time for kindness. Surely there are more important matters to worry about. Righteous indignation and fury, sure. Kindness, Mr. Rogers has left the building. Now, I don't know. There's a lot of things I don't know. And I don't know whether kindness alone is enough to solve all the world's ills. I'm all for a little righteous indignation, passionate commitment of resistance. And yet, I also know, there are a few things I do know. I also know that kindness is transformative. I don't know how much. I don't know if any of us know how much in the final reckoning, and yet kindness is transformative. Kindness changes the world. If you were at our service last week when Catherine Catabiani, a woman of many talents, honored our many volunteers, you know how kindness has transformed this community. We probably have our own personal pantheon of kindness heroes, each one of us. People who have inspired us with their kindnesses. Maybe it is Mr. Rogers or Dorothy Day or Mother Teresa, or it might be people closer to home. people of no special fame who are treasured in our hearts. Two of my kindness heroes are my aunt and late uncle, who have always seemed to be positively on the lookout for kindness. You know people like this, right? You can't spend 5 minutes with them without them going out of their way to be kind, or at least try to be kind. And like Zachariah, sometimes I almost find it annoying. I'm like, there they go again, trying to be kind. Zachariah's mom that same thing that happened to Zachariah with his mom happened to my aunt. I wasn't looking for the toy store, but she rushed across the street and she saw that somebody was struggling to get into a taxi and had a bag and just was saying, "Can I help?" and was trying not to be overly in the way, but it turns out she could make herself useful, and she did. And so I've learned kindness from others, and in something of awe, I have tried to emulate them. Maybe it's the same for you. Kindness has the immediate effect of creating more beauty in the world. Our theme is nurturing beauty. And to do a kindness for a theme for the month of May, and so we'll be talking about ways that we nurture beauty. And kindness is one of the best ways to do this. To do a kindness is to bring out some good result, like a moment's happiness to a friend, or help the suffering of a stranger, help that suffering ease. Every time we do a kindness, we create, hopefully, immediate beauty, because even if we do it wrong, actually, we still create a little bit of beauty, right? Because the intention is still there, which is a little bit of beauty in its own intention. But there are also the ongoing ripple effects of kindness. When we are kind to someone, we may inspire them to be more kind. With our actions, we sort of throw kindness up into the atmosphere, and kindness is a lot more beneficial than carbon to the atmosphere. When we throw it out there, it tends to only have positive effects. When we are kind, even once in human society, we make kindness a smidgen more normative. It reminds us that kindness is who we are. This is what we're about as people. Being around kind people makes us more kind on average, and there have been studies that bear this out. So being more kind creates waves of kindness out in the world. I have come to believe that there is a visionary aspect to kindness. To be kind is to express a vision about how the world can be. It is, in a way, to a bit of resistance. There's a bit of rejecting the ugliness that in the world. And we all know there's so much that can be so nasty and wrong about our life together. And kindness willfully rejects this and embraces what is most beautiful, what most life-giving, most exemplary about human nature. To be kind is to see the world with new eyes. The poet and mystic John O'Donohue says, kindness has gracious eyes. Kindness has gracious eyes. Do we really want the world to look harsh and unforgiving? We could have it that way. But we could also cast gracious eyes upon the world. Julia Ward Howe, as mentioned in the prayer, spoke up from the ashes of the Civil War and proclaimed a vision. She wanted to create a council of women worldwide that would meet together and determine the ways of peace. This was 70 years before the founding of the United Nations. She was tired of men deciding things by the sword generation after generation. This was a fierce kindness, a way of willing the world, a kinder world, into being. She was tired of us not only not beating our swords into plowshares, as the prophet Isaiah urges us to, but instead continually taking our plowshares, taking the means we have to feed one another, to care for one another, and melting them down and making swords. And Julia Ward Howe proposed a different way. She wrote, "Violence does not indicate possession. There are so many attempts to control, to own one another. We see that now, the attempt to own another's body, to control the shape of our lives. Kindness is a different vision to power and control. Kindness has gracious eyes, looks upon the world, and finds ways to make it more beautiful." Kindness is not niceness, not necessarily. Niceness doesn't usually like to make changes, doesn't like to make waves, goes with the flow, whereas kindness is visionary. Like niceness, kindness doesn't seek to control, but kindness does seek to change, to bring about a more beautiful world. I know we faced a week that has thrown so much up into confusion and despair. prospect of a world where the personal, extremely wrenching choices of millions of women and their families, this choice of millions of women, are dictated by state and local governments, where women risk death, endure poverty because of these restrictions. And this does not seem like a beautiful world. And so kindness speaks up. Kindness challenges us to speak up. Kindness is not inactive. Kindness raises its head from the crowd of the world, as the poet says, to notice where there is suffering. Kindness also challenges us to notice the humanity of our opponents, to love our enemies. I may not agree that abortion is murder. In fact, I vehemently disagree, and I think there's been a willful misuse of religion, and especially Christianity, over the last 1,000 years that has unfortunately led to this view. And yet, I know that some of the opponents of abortion, even if I disagree with their view of the world, are some of them acting out of compassion and care. Not all of them. Some are just being control-hungry jerks. But kindness challenges me to see their humanity as well. And that's a hard thing to do, hard thing to share a world with so many different types of people, the ones who are trying to care but in ways we vehemently disagree with, and the ones who are not really trying to care at all. The etymology of kindness tells us a lot. You know I get to etymology eventually, right? Every good sermon does. The word kindness comes from the same root as kin. To be kind is to treat someone as if they were family. Now, we all know we don't all get on with our families very well, right? But the vision of family, so imperfectly lived out, so hurtfully lived out in many of our cases, so challenging. But the vision is you're with people who naturally care about you and want the best for you. You cross over, the world is such a difficult place, and you cross over the threshold. If you've ever had an experience of home, and maybe it's not in your family home, maybe it's in the community that you build for yourself with other people, maybe it's here. But when you cross that threshold to a place that feels like home, all of a sudden we have the sensation that someone is looking out for us, that kindness is there like a shadow or a friend, that people are going to actively seek for our well-being. And that sort of kindness is what we would wish for those women who are facing the incredibly difficult decision of abortion, for someone to be there as a friend, to be there as family, as kin. That experience is what we might even wish for our enemies, to at least be in the room with them and to wish them well and hope that that is reciprocated. And so we have learned this sense of kinship and what family can do. And we've learned it imperfectly, to be sure. Our own mothers and fathers and relatives and caregivers, they taught us something about that sense that someone is looking out for us. And kindness is to treat someone who may even be a complete stranger and to put their best interests at heart. Kindness is a little more than just doing something nice for somebody. It's that sense of really wanting what's best for them. Maimonides, a Jewish philosopher in the, I want to say 13th century, I don't think anyone's going to correct me, right? 13th, somewhere around there, 14th. Distinguished between 8 types of giving. I'm not going to go through all of them, but as you go up the ladder of them, at the bottom is giving because you kind of feel a sense of pity. And it's almost like Maimonides is saying, if you think of them as not really like you, but oh, isn't that so sad, and you give to somebody, that's fine, but that's kind of the lowest on the step on the ladder. And then a little higher than that is when you feel like it's an obligation, I need to be kind. And it goes all the way up. And the 2 top tiers on the rings of giving is giving when you don't expect any favor in return, right? When you're just giving and you give so secretly, in fact, that they can't give in return. And then the highest one is giving so that someone to help out their own life. So you're not even just doing a favor, you're trying to get them self-sufficient and move on. And you do that without any giving in return. Now, Maimonides doesn't criticize any rung on the ladder completely. It's okay to give because you feel like you should. We all do that sometimes. And it's okay to give because and be kind to someone because we feel sorry for them. We all do that. But the deepest giving is when we see them as whole people and we want the best for them without even them knowing that we're being kind to them. We just actively want them. We care about them enough that we want their lives to succeed. And it's hard to do, but the more we do it, the more we foster that sense that people matter. We start to put on kindness glasses when we see the world. We look upon the world with gracious eyes. We become eager. We long to see kindnesses take place. Julia Ward Howe's vision of a world in which women fully stop the gears of war has not yet come to pass, right? We're a long way out. We know that. And yet it was not naive. It's never naive to look upon the world with the eyes of kindness. Kindness is transformative. It's not just seeing what is, it's seeing what is not in the world. And that vision challenges us to make it so. And so, channeling a million sermons told before, channeling the advice of your mothers and all those who loved you, I say again, be kind. Try and be kind. You may not immediately be rewarded for kindness. It's true. People may not pat you on the back and say what a great person you are. You might not always receive kindness in return. But you might not be immediately rewarded for kindness, except that if you are kind, you create a world that is slightly more kind. And if you are cruel or indifferent, we create a world that is slightly less kind. The world is beautiful enough without human beings. The least we can do, our humble offering, is find a way to make the world, or at least the human world, a little bit more beautiful. Let us see one another, especially those who are struggling the most, those who have the hardest time of it. Let us be kind enough to change the world for the better. Blessed be, friends. Amen. So now let us sing together our closing hymn. It is hymn number 1007, which is in your teal books, the smaller book. There's a river flowing in my soul. Anxiety weighs down the human heart, says the Proverbs. Anxiety weighs down the human heart. You can be seated. But a good word cheers it, lifts it up. Maybe all of us remember a time when somebody lifted us up. Maybe it was our mama, maybe it was someone else. But let us be that for one another and for the world at large. Let us give the world a vision of of kindness, of justice, which is what kindness looks like when it's out in the world and when everybody can participate in it. Let us lift one another up so that we are not weighed down with anxiety, but we see the world through the beautiful lens of kindness. May it be so. Amen. Oh, and we thank you. It's very kind of you to remind me. Thank you. We extinguish the flame with these words, which are on your order of service or on the screens at Zoom. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. Peace be with you all. Thank you to everybody who made this service possible, our wonderful tech and music and religious education teams. Stick around for the budget meeting if you want to know how the budget is made. If not, have a wonderful Mother's Day. We'll have coffee for those in the service. Thank you all. Peace be with you. Happy Mother's Day. Coffee and snacks will be outside. We'll have, for those who are, sorry, could I have your attention for 1 second? I just want to make sure. We are delighted to have coffee and snacks, and we give thanks to those who have made it. If we could make sure, just for the safety of one another, to make sure to consume those outside. It's a beautiful day, so just grab your coffee and snacks and go outside if you want to. Wherever you're headed to today, have a marvelous day. Happy Mother's Day. Have a great Sunday.
I'm always afraid if we don't start the flame, we can't go home.
No, thank you. No, I'm going to stay there.